Hello, everybody. I am Reginald Bullock, and we're here with Trey, and this is Just Living Life. I hope you've been watching us and looking at some of the other episodes and learning. We have fun doing it, so we're glad that you're here joining us, and we're about to do it again. What's up, Trey?
What's up, Reggie? How's everything with you, man?
All's good in the hood, man.
Hey, I understand that. As always, actually, I was about to lie. It's not always good, but at least end of the day, though, I try to at least sleep peacefully, knowing that the day's going at least somewhat productive. There's always a nice little journey, always some progression forward. So, but yeah, so I guess when it comes to power, then we both agree it's more so on the internal aspect than the external. Um, how do you lose power then if it's internal?
So there are so many things that can cause stress, and stress causes physiological impact. And depression and all kinds of different things where you just go down a road and you go so far down the road that you're no longer here where you were,
Right.
and you can lose your power. You can lose,
But it's
you,
internal.
you can lose, yeah, but you can lose yourself.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? And that's my point. I'll put it out there. People commit suicide, right? And so to some extent, they've lost something, and they've made a choice, right? And so, or they were looking for something. And I can't speak for all people who commit suicide, but my brother committed suicide. So, I've had to live with that all my life. But the point is that people sometimes do things, or external forces happen that just take you off your game.
That's real.
Divorce, man. I've seen a lot of people go down a dark road as a result of divorce and just become a different person. They've changed, right? And living out of their car now, right? And so it has a significant impact on their mindset, and as a result, they're not the same person. Drugs can do the same thing to people, right? And so
That's tough.
yeah,
Because I think drugs actually can. Drugs is one thing where I feel like you can change, but I feel like it's deteriorating you. So
what do you mean you can change?
Like in terms when you said like you can't, it will make you change. Like if you start doing drugs and you can get addicted,
Yeah.
I think it deteriorates you. So I hate saying that is a change because it technically is.
Call it what you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is a change. It's not that internal change I'm talking about, but again, it is a
But
change.
you had power.
That
You had power over a lot of things, and now you've given your power to something else. And that's the other thing. You can consciously decide to give your power to something or someone else.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's easy to give it away though, right?
It can be for some people. I think it is. Like, I watch this whole bullying thing, right? And it frustrates me because on one hand, we own our own brain.
Yeah.
And we can choose or not choose, but we can choose to not listen. We can choose to turn the radio off. Yeah. You could choose to not scream at the television and tell them to shoot the ball, and they can't hear you anyway. But you still screaming and telling them to shoot the ball, right? But so that's my point, right? We have all of these choices, but we give that power to the television. We give that power to someone else, and so therefore, when these kids are being bullied, right, they haven't been trained to control their brain yet,
right?
And someone else is already in control of their brain, in control of their power. They've taken their power from them. They've given it to them, somewhat not freely, but they've given their power away. And now they're being bullied, and they're crying, and they're, doing all kinds of stuff, inflicting pain upon themselves, scared to go to school, yada, 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 because they feel powerless. And this is one of the things I love being a leadership coach, because I get to help folks to find themselves and their power.
Okay.
And get it back.
Yeah, so then when you say find yourself, it's interesting because I feel like we're still seeking to figure out who we are at times, right? Like we talked about growing up, 18, I still didn't think I didn't know who I was. Right. 18, and still in moments I'm like, I know, but I don't know. So like, when do you feel like power is obtained? Because it's when you know yourself. And I feel like I had a good idea of myself growing up, but I'm like, nah, maybe not. And I think a lot of people do that time, like, feel that same way. So when do you feel like power is obtained?
So you always have it with you, right? You're born with it. You just don't know it,
Okay.
or you don't know how to use it. You haven't mastered it. You haven't discovered it. There's a lot of things about yourself that you discover over time, but it was already there. You just discover it later or whenever. So to that point, some people may discover their power at 18 or at 28. Some people may be 58 years old and still haven't discovered their power. And so, but it's in you.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like that little light in a firefly. It's in you. You know, it's just in you. Your power is in you. Your neural pathways have the ability to fire off and create different new pathways. And therefore, that right there is from birth. The fact that you start learning how to crawl is creating different neural pathways. The fact that you can speak and say mommy and daddy and hello and put sentences into the spell, you're creating different neural pathways. And those neural pathways is the true source of your power.
So if that's true, then when we're talking about giving up your power, I feel like when we're talking about so like building a foundation versus tearing it down, right? We're always told, it's easy to tear down something, but it's very tough to build up something.
That's why people curse each other out so easily, and all the comedians making so much money at slamming people. But we don't have the same volume of people building people up. Look at all the news. Man, I was looking at CNN and Fox, ABC, NBC today, just trying to see 10 minutes worth of buildup. Something good. What am I listening to that's going to have some sort of value to my life from a positive standpoint? Zero.
It gets tough nowadays.
So you're right. Everybody wants to tear down. And who's building, right?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the reason they're not is because they're incapable, in the sense that they've spent so much energy in their entire life tearing stuff down. Their neural pathways, right? Their power to build is weak.
No, it's also kind of boring to watch stuff being built up. Like when you watch it from detail to detail, they might view it as boring. You might want to piecemeal it. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that was that. Oh, it's coming up kind of nicely. Like I think people, I think people like seeing that.
I think Venus and Serena's dad enjoyed watching the building process.
He did because he was invested. Not everyone else is going to be invested, and that's why I was so like going to the power when you're saying it's easy to like you can give it away. I feel like if you're giving something away, it's hard to get it back. But like
What
also,
do you mean giving it away?
so if I give my power away to like, you know what I'm saying, give my power away to like, for example, drugs. All right, well that is tough. Like that's a hard demon to get over. That's what I've seen that. I'm not a person, but I've seen it. But then also thinking about it from, well, if it is within you though, it should be kind of easy. It's almost like, what I'm saying? It's like a flip of a switch. Like that sounds so casual, like the click click. You know what I'm saying? Like that's. But I also know it's tough too. Like, what's that main? Like, why does it sound easy but not?
I know what you're trying to do, and I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
And so here's the deal. Assalamu alaikum barakatuh. Alik barakatha jim ha-khadel da. You don't know what I said, right? Or what if I said, bonjour, monsieur, comment allez-vous? Or comment está? Right? And so the point is, these are just languages. Every single language out there is spoken by a human being. So therefore, it's in us. So if it's in us, then why don't you speak it, Trey?
I think it's learned though.
There you go. There you go.
But
some things have to be trained. Some things have to be brought out.
So you think
you have the capability to do so much. And that's what I said before. You already have it. It just has to be brought out. You have to evolve. You have to learn it. You have to discover it.
Right.
You have the ability to speak 10 languages. Why don't you? Because you just never learned it. You didn't train. Nobody helped you. But yet there are other people 31 years old that can speak 10 languages. What's the difference between you and them?
They like to show off.
Okay. That's one way to tear them down. So what's another way to build them up?
Oh, I was trying to build myself up. I'm not tearing them down. That's all.
Okay, and so you build yourself up because you only speak one language, and you tear them down because they speak 10.
Again, I ain't tearing them down. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get slack.
But that's my point, is that there's a lot of things we can learn.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the continent of Russia
Mhm.
or China, or whatever, on the globe, it looks like they're bigger than Africa.
Mhm.
But the truth of it is, they designed it that way from an image perspective, so that everybody think that Africa's small and the rest of them are big. But the reality, if you actually measured the square footage or mileage from top to bottom, side to side,
Mhm.
Africa may be 3 times the size as all of them, and therefore every picture we've seen is incorrect.
Mhm.
So now, what if you were trained wrong? So you could have power, and you were taught to use that power inappropriate. Did you give it away?
Not necessarily, because if you were, I guess, you were misled with information, then
And
I don't
that
think that's
happens
I don't think that's all
all
your
the
fault.
time.
Yeah. We talked about hobbies. I think that kind of also brought us into how are we living too, because it
Mhm.
told us about what we like to do.
Mhm.
Then let's see here. We talked about power, but before we talked about that, well, I mean, what else?
Change.
I don't know about that. You sure we changed? We talked about change.
Yeah, you talked
You
a
know, we
lot.
should talk about change.
He talked about change.
Maybe maybe I'm forgetting. My bad. I'm getting old nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. No, we talked about that. But yeah, so no, we talked about change and then we ended off with power. I think that was a good little segment though.
Yeah.
And again, if y'all haven't been watching, all these episodes do kind of build on top of one another because we talked about building and expanding foundation.
Mhm.
We didn't talk about intelligence and hustle. Oh, we talked about hustle, not intelligence.
But we talked about intelligence and hustle in a different
Oh yeah,
episode.
I just meant on this episode. We didn't,
Okay,
like everything builds and expands upon one another. We're not talking about all the episodes,
Right.
but we will reference other ones. So I
Yes,
hope y'all are enjoying that. Even Reggie said something about cutting grass, and you saw my reaction is still
Yard work. Yard work. You're gonna do one day you're gonna change. You're gonna move your
I'm
arm.
gonna adapt. I'm gonna adapt, though. There's one change. I promise there's one thing I would keep from youth to adulthood is I don't like yard work.
All right.
I don't. But I mean,
There's always tomorrow.
not do yard work. But I think that's the perfect time though to end the segment. We can skip flowers today because you were talking about yard work too much. That's too close to yard work. I don't like flowers enough that much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a good one. But please, before you do that, hit that like button, subscribe. Tell anybody who's anyone about the show. If you want to leave a comment or two, we appreciate that. My name is Trey. This is Reggie, and you listen to Just Living Life. So, hope you all have a good one. Take care.
All right.